Sanibona guys, I hope you're all doing so well. I welcome you all to today's episode wherein we're gonna just literally go through the episode of the Shades podcast on YouTube, wherein those two gentlemen were actually interviewing imboni Dr. Radebe, the founder and the leader of the Revelation Spiritual Home, and also the founder of the Trillion Card Holdings. It's a business, and other sectors and other foundations, Dr. S.B. Radebe Foundation, and other sectors. So we'll just delve deeper into them as we go through, guys. So on that podcast, I'm just gonna do a review of that podcast episode with the Share podcast. And on the start of the episode, I think, guys, that podcast is very beautiful. It was recorded 11 months ago. It's there on YouTube. You can search the Shared podcast on YouTube. It will show you properly. Yeah. So on that podcast, guys, it was just beautiful because generally it was all about intertwining spirituality and business. How do imboni do it? How does imboni intertwine those two things? Even politics on the other side, because imboni you always provides with advices to politicians, business people, and abantu in general about spirituality, economics, politics, and businesses. So they were just asking such general questions, but most of topics that were touched on this episode was all about the relationship between business and African spirituality in the context of Africa. Yeah. So on the first part of the podcast, the gentleman asked Imbono, how does one get to be involved in spirituality and business at the very same time? And Imboni answered by saying, it is because as abantu we have abandoned our spirituality. So he gave a background about that. In the ancient times, our spirituality in those times was our basis or was our foundation. Our economy was informed by our spirituality. The way we think, we're informed by our own spirituality as Africans. The way we do business in the olden times, we're informed by our spirituality in general, guys. So everything that our grandparents were doing in the ancient times before colonization, it was informed by the spiritual wisdom that was given by Moya, or spiritual guiders of Africa. So Imboni said that we have abandoned that concept of being guided by spiritual guiders, authentic spiritual guiders, in order for us to prosper economically, politically, spiritually, and otherwise here in our continent, Africa. So he said that in order for us to be involved, in order for us to prosper in everything that we're involved in, it can be business, in politics, education, and whatsoever, he said that just make sure that you are informed by your spirituality. Each and every decision of your life must be informed by your African spirituality as a black person. He even made a reference to Islamic religion. Their economy is based on their religion. Their business is informed by their religion. Their economic policies, their policies of governance are informed by their religion as Islamic. Yeah, so you delve deeper into the concept. I love the way he explained those things. It's very beautiful, man. Yeah. And he further mentioned that there was a prophecy of King Solomon Kimbangu. He was a prophet or imboni in Congo, and he died in October 12, 1951. So it's a recent thing, it's not an old thing. He died in 1951. Yeah. So King Solomon Kimbangu, he prophesied during that time that it will be a prophet. Obviously, that prophecy, that thing was written by scholars, like scholars took the records of that prophecy of imboni Kimbangu was a Congo. So scholars wrote it in those texts, obviously, but obviously those words were said by imboni Kimbangu. Those were his prophecies, and they were written down by scholars, and scholars refer to imboni as prophets. Yeah. So imboni Kimbangu, in his prophecy, he mentioned that there's going to be a prophet who's going to carry, during, he said that, like, from the period of 1951 to 2024 right now, if you can check the imbonis who have went through their own journey, who have been here, like here in the African continent, if you can check, like from 1951 and 2024, who's that imboni or authentic spiritual guide who has got right political wisdom, right spiritual wisdom, right business wisdom, and that imboni actually implemented those things of the prophecy of Kimbangu. It is imboni Dr. Radebe. Currently, he is able to advise politicians. He's able to advise business people. Hence, right now, he's got successful businesses. Hence, now, he's got a successful spiritual institution that is running. Hence, now, he's got proper political wisdom. He can be able to advise politicians. Even kings, he can be able to advise kings. So far, as per our own analysis, I understand, I know that imboni Dr. Radebe is the one who currently carries the spiritual, political, economical wisdom for people here in Africa, in the African context, obviously, because King Kimbangu was an African in Congo. And imboni, if I mentioned that his business is built around distribution model, and the profit is shared around the people. So his business, it is shared, it is built around distribution model, wherein they manufacture, they actually build or create goods and services. And after they have created those goods and services, the people going to sell those things to the community, which means the people, distributors, the people who are going to take the product from the business of imboni, they sell them to the people directly. And that profit that they will get share amongst the people. So that is socialism in the political context that we are fighting for in Africa. We are fighting for socialism in the political context. So that's what imboni practices. He practices socializing, sharing of goods, Ubuntu in general. Yeah. And he further delved deeper into the concept of modern and ancient Africa. What's the difference between the modern and ancient Africa? So I'd like you to watch this video wherein we delve deeper into this context. Then we'll check later.
Looking at issues of governance today, imboni or yourself as imboni, are you at all utilized by government, either by president, ministers, MECs, MMCs, councillor, anybody in the sphere of governance, in order for that wisdom to help guide the people they are leading?
Yeah, to have me in your show for 30 minutes, 1 hour, that's very short.
Yes.
Because I like to give background into, and so that there is context into the subject. So, must go back and say, ancient Africa and modern Africa is two different things. So, ancient Africa, remember Yainjan, and that's who we were. We have lost our identity now. The Africa today, we are not what we were before. So that's point number one, we've lost the identity. So as you said, in ancient Africa, kings, they were like today or presidents or politicians. They were the leaders of society. But who now had to intervene in spiritual matters? There's a spiritual dimension. We believe it, we don't, there is. There's spiritual and physical. So the intermediary between the spiritual and the physical, was people about his imboni. Then they had to tell king, you would look, Izolomoya, the spiritual dimension is now not happy with 1, 2, 3. Or is that they are advising this and that and that. That is able to then tell the nation and the nation could move. Now in the modern Africa with politics, let's start with politics. The political system we have here, where does it emerge from? This is not our traditional political cultural system. We inherited it with colonization. Into mangase yakho khona la engathi yakushaya khona. We are now practicing Eurocentric politics. Point number 1. Eurocentric politics don't as bony spiritual guidance and all those things. Actually, they acknowledge more religion than spirituality. Now you have your politicians who are guiding the nation. They are guiding the nation blindly because there's no spirituality or spiritual intervention here. They are guiding it through their own minds. And that is why now you can see we are not going anywhere. Another thing I want to tell you, because the viewer can look and say, well, listen, it does not matter. Today is today. Asking any spiritual guidance will navigate our way. No. Africa is a mother continent. Spirituality began in Africa because life began in Africa.
Origin of humankind.
Yeah.
You know, you don't think you can be able to govern African people and ignore spirituality. Don't think that. And that's a mistake I think many politicians do. They compare us with your Western Wales. Western Wales, they emerged from here and they went there. They don't have much regard for spiritual matters. But Africa you cannot, because Africa is the mother of spirituality. Kuna lende city, kuna idalwa zomoya who are watching over us. And they are not happy when you are trying to do things on your own. So this is one mistake that our politicians are doing. So to answer then your question, no, we are not utilized because of the system. So, you know, today it's all about politics. And politicians think that because they know how to do politics, although even themselves, I think they're still trying to navigate the politics because it's Eurocentric. But they don't regard spiritual matters, you know. They think if we can get land, if you look at the language of politicians today is economy. If we get our economy right, everything will be. No, it will never be right. Even if you can get the economy right, because it's beyond economy. I'll make a very quick example for you. I always tell people, it's amazing that before 94, here in South Africa, in particular, we said, no, yabona, masingaphatha sibuyele kuyoba right. My parliament now is mostly black. Yes. Gotta ask yourself, Inland is so difficult. Have you ever asked yourself? And it's so difficult that it looks like you need a rocket scientist to solve our problems. It's not true. It's because it's beyond physicality, it's spirituality. And our leaders are not hearing the spiritual dimension. That's why we are being led astray. So yes, we are ignored. We are not being listened to.
It must be.
So guys, yeah, after you've watched this video, then he generally mentioned that governance in Africa must be guided by African spiritual wisdom, which means our governance, like our politicians, must be able to be guided by authentic spiritual guiders. Which means our political system must be guided by our spirituality, basically, guys. That's what imboni, briefly, that's what he was talking about in that video. And I think I really believe in him. I really understand what he's talking about, guys, because as Africans, we are a nation that is directionless. Like, we follow different nations. You can find that in one town in Nigeria, there are people who follow Islam, Judaism, there are people who are Christians, there are people who are atheists, there are people who follow African customs, African religion or spirituality. There are people who follow them all. There are people who are Christians at the same time they follow Islam. There are Christians at the same time they follow African customs, African spirituality at the same time. So those are contradictions that we are facing currently as African people. We have, as the majority, we don't have that particular religion or spiritual route that we are based on. We know this is where you find wisdom as Africans. Our economy is so diverse, it is so multiracial, which is not wrong, but it's so multiracial and has no identity. Our economy has no identity. Our policies have got no identity here in South Africa, in Africa and beyond. Hence, we are being led by outsiders. Hence, we are being led by leaders outside Africa, because till now we have no identity in our policies of governance in general. That's the problem. Right? It's a very big problem that we're facing as African people in the current moment. But we do have deeper into those concepts going forward. We need to know where we stand for. We need to know what is our spirituality, what is our religion. If we have to be Christians, all of us, if we have to be Islams, if we have to be Jews, let it be, as long as those things are bringing solutions to Africa. But so far, they have not brought solutions to Africa, those religions. But we know what our own authentic African spirituality can bring us to freedom, can bring us freedom in our lifetime. Yeah. So he mentioned a solution to our economy is manufacturing model, which means basically our continent must be industrialized so that the creation of jobs can be utilized or can be intensified, which means manufacturing, the goods must be created here in Africa. Most of goods and services that we use on a daily basis must be created here in Africa and be exported. So we should not just export raw minerals in G. And when we buy them with high prices. So we should just, with those raw minerals, you must produce something with them and export it to get the profit. Yeah. And in closing, he actually mentioned what we must share amongst ourselves in businesses. Our economy must have a spiritual roots, which means we must know our economical policies must have basis, must be guided by our African spirituality wisdom. That's the basic message of imboni. We must know, we must be able to create our policies based on our system of belief, I can say our spirituality as Africans. Because as Africans we don't believe, we know. The system of knowing, there is African spirituality there. That's the basic message I think I have from this podcast episode, guys. So please go and watch it. It's so interesting, short and simple, but very proper. Now, guys, enjoy your day.